This is an NBC News special report. Here's Matt Lauer.
And good morning, everyone. I'm Matt Lauer, along with Hoda Kotb. History about to be made in South Carolina. The Confederate flag that's flown on the grounds of the State House in Columbia for more than 5 decades, a symbol of hate for many, heritage for others, is about to be taken down and moved to a museum. This comes just weeks after this historic vote by state lawmakers and just over 3 weeks after that deadly shooting at a black church in Charleston. NBC's Ron Allen is down there in that crowd somewhere. Ron, we were getting the aerial view. Give me a sense for the size of the crowd, the security, and are there people on both sides of this issue present?
Matt, this is an incredible moment. People are starting to chant, "Take it down, take it down." There are thousands upon thousands of people here on the State House grounds and crowding the streets around the Capitol. People have been coming here since early this morning to be a part of this and to witness it. We can see that the honor guard is in place. A small honor guard will march out to the flag, take it down. This is going to be a small, brief, dignified, quick ceremony that's not going to last very long. Also, on the steps of the Capitol, we can see a large contingent of relatives of those who lost loved ones so tragically at Mother Emanuel Church just a few weeks ago. This is so much about them, and I can see the governor there now. I can see Nikki Haley shaking hands with some of the relatives at the top of the steps there. That was the cue that this is about to begin, because the governor, when she arrived, we were told that the ceremony would begin. There is very, very heavy security here. The area is closed off for blocks. There's been a ban on carrying personal weapons within 250 yards of this place as a precaution, because people are concerned about the passions that are on both sides of this issue. There have been protesters out for the past few days. There was an epic debate in the House of Representatives here that lasted for 12, 13 hours, well into the night a few days ago, debating whether this flag should come down or not after 54 contentious years here in South Carolina. And now that is going to happen in a brief, dignified ceremony that should be getting underway at any moment, because the governor's in place and now the honor guard is in place. We expect this to begin any moment.
And Ron, let me interrupt for a second. We also have Chuck Todd standing by in Washington. And Chuck, as the ceremony is about to take place, and Governor Haley did spearhead this effort after saying she was a changed person after those murders at that church. Talk about the significance of this happening at this moment in our nation's history.
Matt, it's unbelievable. When I think about sort of my career covering presidential politics, it always goes through South Carolina. This flag has been so contentious for so long, and it just seemed an intractable debate. And then all of a sudden, it is not. The fact that it took a tragedy to do this, but you get the feeling, I feel like we're witnessing, you know, we're marking the end date on the Confederate battle flag as a symbol in American politics, and it's today. 2015, that will be on the epitaph of the Confederate battle flag. It feels that way. It feels like the country's moved on. And I have to tell you, it's remarkable to watch Governor Haley, the 2 senators, both Republicans, Lindsey Graham, Tim Scott. This couldn't have happened in South Carolina without the 3 of them locking arms and making it happen, staying united. To me, it's a lesson in leadership that others who are in elected office ought to watch, because the 3 of them pulled this off together, obviously Governor Haley being the lead here. But I think if they don't lock arms, this doesn't happen as swiftly and as momentously as it is.
Yeah, and Governor Haley spoke to us here on the Today Show this morning and talked about the families of those who lost their lives at that AME church, and said that their grace and forgiveness changed her and also changed the mood in South Carolina and this country, and forced people to look at what we have in common, not what divides us. And yet, Chuck and Ron, I'll let you chime in after that, you know, we have to remember there are an awful lot of people in South Carolina who are going to watch this, and for them it's a defeat. For them, they see it as a losing or a loss of their heritage, and they're going to be angry about this.
And Matt, make no mistake, there'll be some political repercussions for a state legislator, a state senator, a member of that assembly, who may lose their re-election because of their vote to go with the governor on this and take down this flag. But it feels as if it's still sort of a remnant of the past.
Well, Chuck, let's just sit out for a second. Let's just watch as this happens. This honor guard, I think Ron mentioned earlier, the same honor guard that served at the state funeral in South Carolina for State Senator and Reverend Clemente Pinckney. Let's watch. You can hear chants in the background continuing, "Take it down." We were told this would be simple and dignified, lasting 5 minutes or 10 minutes. Once the flag is taken down, it will be handed over to the man who runs the relic room at the Confederate Museum about a mile away from the state capitol there in Columbia, South Carolina. We're told it will be displayed appropriately. I'm not really sure exactly what that means. And I would expect you'll hear a cheer as this flag starts to come down. Ron Allen, can you hear me?
Yes, Matt.
Just give me a sense for what you're seeing and hearing.
I hear a lot of emotion. I see a lot of teary eyes. I see a lot of people straining to take in every second of this moment. I see a lot of relief. I see some anger. I see some small Confederate flags in the crowd, and I've heard those voices so loudly and clearly who point out that this is a memorial to tens of thousands of young men and women who gave their lives for a cause that they were told to go fighting, the Civil War. And those supporters of this flag don't care whether it was wrong or right. They want their loved ones, their ancestors honored. I should point out that the flag on that pole sits in front of a Confederate soldier memorial. It's one of the largest memorials on the State House grounds, and it sits very prominently in the front. So as you drive by the Capitol, that is the first thing you see. The flag, of course, will not be there any longer, but others point out that that is enough of a monument, along with many others here, to honor the memory of those soldiers. But this is a moment when South Carolina is really desperate and trying to move on. And it's just not about public sentiment. Remember, there were major retailers like Walmart, eBay, Sears, others who came out and said that they will no longer deal with Confederate memorabilia. There has been a ban by the NCAA of having championship sports, college sports here in South Carolina because of this flag, and that has now been lifted. In the debate in the House the other night, a lot of representatives emphasized the economic impact that this flag being here has had on South Carolina, and the hope that that will now change. Again, bursts of applause, people yelling, "Take it down." The hope here is that this will help this place move on. And what I really see, Matt, and what I'm focusing on is the faces of the loved ones who lost at Mother Emanuel Church. There is a large contingent here. I also see the pastor of that church, Reverend Norval Goff, who has had to preside over 9 separate funerals in the past couple of weeks. We went to many of those funerals. They were emotional, they were gut-wrenching, they were also inspiring because of the forgiveness and the grace that these families have shown throughout this, as we can now see the flag being marched across the State House grounds. But I see a lot of tears in the eyes of those families. I see some measure of relief. I see also, and I heard them talk about how bittersweet this is because it took the lives of their loved ones to make this happen. And those 9 were such innocent and ordinary people. A librarian, a track coach, a young man who had just finished college and who was dreaming of being a barber, an entrepreneur. Mothers, fathers, grandfathers, the oldest 74, the youngest 26.
Ron, let me jump in for a second. We're watching that flag being handed over to Alan Roberson. He's the director of the South Carolina Confederate Relic Room and Military Museum, and it will then go off to that museum to be displayed or stored from now on, not to be flown at the state capitol again. And Chuck, to bring you back in, we saw Governor Haley there standing on the steps of the Capitol. So much attention on her over these last several weeks, and so much praise, also so much criticism. What has this done to impact her career and her political future?
Well, look, you can't help but say that you know, this is a case where her acts as a governor in this state have gotten national attention, given her national exposure. You know, she was a once-and-future rising star when she first got elected, ran into a few hiccups, maybe tried to be a national star too soon, too quickly in that first term, put her focus back on the state, and now she met the moment. Matt, we see this all the time in politics. You meet a moment, it's an unexpected moment. How do you handle that moment? And I think that it's pretty clear Governor Nikki Haley has handled this as well as any governor could handle. You could say she was late to the game. That criticism is there. She's accepted that criticism. But again, without her, Lindsey Graham and Tim Scott locking arms on this, I don't know if that South Carolina Republican-controlled legislature does this. They pulled this off.
Yeah, Chuck, thank you very much. Ron Allen on the grounds of the State House there in Columbia. Thank you for your insight as well. So, in a simple and dignified ceremony, history made this morning in South Carolina, the Confederate flag removed from the grounds of the Capitol in Columbia, something so many people had wanted to see happen for decades, but also something fairly that so many others have resisted for that same period of time. It remains to be seen whether the removal of that flag does what members of the South Carolina legislature hope it will do, usher in a new era for their state, and perhaps even usher in a new era of unity and racial harmony in this country. We'll have to wait and see.
There'll be a lot of talk after that, I'm sure. All right, we're going to turn now to Natalie.
Well, actually, we're going to have much more on this event throughout the day on MSNBC and NBCnews.com. And Lester Holt will have a wrap-up on Nightly News. I'm Matt Lauer along with Hoda Kotb. Thanks for watching.
Somebody